Hey folks, the champ here. You know me, I'm the former heavyweight boxing champion of the world, and I've been biffed upside the head so many times I take things the wrong way and lose my temper as a result. Now, you may not know this, but I have a collection of guns I like to keep around. Not that I need a weapon to defend myself, my fists are all I need to lay out whatever guy messes with me and Mrs. Champ, but they're always good to have. So one day I noticed they're starting to get a bit worn and long in the tooth. It's looking like they'll need an upgrade. So I take them to the closest gunsmith I know and tell him my situation. I tell him my guns could use a little sprucing up. And the complete idiot says, "So you want us to go up your arsenal?" I said, "Pardon?" He says again, "So you want us to go up your arsenal?" Well, I snap. I lose it. I blast him with a bayonet of buckshot from the left. He never saw it coming, no choice but to submit. I irradiate him with a fallout fist from the right. Pow! No Geiger counter in the world can do that one justice. He's wobbling like Grayson Hunt in the cheapest tavern in town during happy hour. Perfect time to deliver the coup de grace. I hit him with my favorite finisher from above, the Doomslayer Deathbringer, and at that point he's had it. Hits the floor like a thwomp trying to crush Super Mario. He's down and out, his joystick's broken, his mushroom's worn off, he's all out of rings, his health bar's all gone, he's lost all his lives, it's game over for him. Ain't no fairy in a bottle or cheat code in the world that can save his sorry ass. I say, how's that for you lily-livered, barrel-buffing, trigger-tickling, stock-polishing, aim-assistant D-pad? Is that you want us to go up your arsenal enough for you? Ever since I've been the champ. And now, the Red Leaf Retrocast.
Yeah, welcome. It's episode 111. Here we are. Colin, you're getting weirder by the day.
Yeah, I got inspired for it during work one day, and it just snowballed from there.
A real poet you are. Joey, what'd you think?
He's slipping into madness.
Yeah, I think so. The overwhelming odds are against you, Colin. It's our theme for the day.
Let's see what the audience says.
Yeah, it's our theme. That was my pick. Overwhelming odds. It stemmed really because, Joey, you picked Gears of War in our last podcast, and I've spoken about multiple times on occasion that I've wanted to do a comparison between Gears of War and Resistance. And so I was like, okay, I got to get this game into the next topic, no matter what. Because playing them back-to-back, I think, is very... I don't know, it gives a different perspective over the time period that we were in, and the games were directly compared to each other when the 360 and the PS3 came out. Especially considering they came out, I think, in the same week. And I remember back then, I wouldn't say it was a console war debate, but it was definitely which game was better debate for the console. And that was always a fun conversation I had. And I had never played the first Gears of War before last podcast. And I'd only ever played a demo of the very first Resistance game. And it was years ago I saw like all three of them at a I think it was the EB Games in Toronto, Colin. And I bought like all three of them for $6.
Nice.
Yeah, and I'm like, why not? I'm probably going to play these eventually, and okay, many years later, sure. Did play them, though, nonetheless, and I'm looking forward to this topic. Topic's overwhelming odds. Essentially, you're a lone gunman against an army of whatever. I know, very generic, but hey, we could always revisit this later, no problem. I think we're getting to the point where we might pick themes over again, and that's okay. But I'm really liking our new format that we've kind of stuck to with the two games, kind of a versus mode between them. And now that we've played so many on this podcast, we can... I don't want to say we could revisit games, but we can definitely... If you guys haven't been on the cast before, I think we could kind of throw that in as a third option, if we so choose.
Yeah, maybe.
So... before we get to our main topic, Joey, what have you been playing? Why don't you go first today?
Haven't really been playing much. Played some Apex. Started playing some of the, I guess, expansions for Control because I've never gone past the original game. And what else have I been playing? I know there's another game. What is my library telling me? Yeah, that's pretty much it. Apex and Control. Haven't really done much. Oh, I did a little bit of Sea of Thieves. I was just being an asshole trying to ruin everyone else's good times.
And by Control, you mean the sci-fi shooter?
Yes.
Okay. How far are you in it?
I mean, I beat the original storyline. Now I'm doing the one where that other reality is bleeding in.
The DLC, basically, that DLC story? Okay.
Yeah.
Was it on sale or something recently?
No, I just had it.
Oh, all right.
First playthrough, I just stopped at the end of the story and took a break, and then I just finally picked it back up.
Yeah, I've been waiting for that DLC to kind of go on sale or something or another because I really liked Control. It took multiple hours to get going. I think I clocked it in at like 2 hours and 10 minutes. I was like, not into that. But as soon as you get past that, then the game's really good.
Yeah, I have 15 hours in it, so I have the Ultimate Edition, so I think I have all the DLCs. I just beat the one story, and then I needed a break, and then I picked it back up because I was bored.
It's a pretty long game.
Yeah, but it's full of stuff to do.
Yeah, that's why it's so long, because I try to read every little thing I pick up and all that, because I really like the lore.
Yeah.
The lore is super interesting and neat. Yeah, I agree. I agree with that.
This one's going to be a slow burn for me. It's going to take me a while to beat it all.
I feel you. I got a number of games on my list that I'm kind of going through, but I'm really sticking with the PS5. I'm trying to stick with that, but this topic, I don't know. The games we played for this theme today, not just because I picked them, it just hit me at the right time where I was in the mood for them.
Nice.
Yeah. Colin, what have you been playing?
Mostly Bulletstorm.
Okay. Still chugging away through that.
Yeah, I'm pretty close to the end by now. I'm still discovering new ways to earn points with creative kills. Like, for instance, you hit an airborne enemy with a drill spike in a way that sends them flying into the sky. You get the Mile High Club bonus that nets 50 points. Or if you launch a bunch of enemies into the air with a special ability for your energy whip, and then you fire an explosive round from your sniper rifle into one of them, and then kill the rest with the detonation, you get Firework, which nets 100 points per death. It's still a ton of fun to play, and I'll be sad once it's over. And of course, I've been playing more Oendon too.
Mm-hmm.
Still haven't quite unlocked the hardest difficulty yet, but I've been a busy man. But this morning, I actually saw an announcement trailer for the 20th anniversary of Kingdom Hearts. They're announcing several new upcoming entries in the series. And first is the...
Boo.
And there it is. You guys went at least 6 episodes without booing when it was mentioned. I was so proud of you, but now that's gone down the drain.
Well, just don't bring it up,
guys. Well, what if you bring it up,
Well, then I'll boo it like always.
I'll never bring it up.
You are doing so well. But anyway, first is a finale to a mobile game that chronicles the journey of the descent into evil of the main villain of the series up to Kingdom Hearts 3. And second is another mobile game, which I think continues the story of the Union Cross mobile game. And then it ended off with an announcement for Kingdom Hearts 4. Hooray!
Oh.
Making up for lost time, are you?
Got to.
New game, new boo.
New Boo Plus.
And here I thought we were entering a new era.
Oh, never.
So much for that.
I'm not above that.
Yeah, no, I'm not above it.
There's a lot you're not above. And I'll just leave that for the audience's imagination.
Uh-huh. Is that it? Is that it for you, Colin? Buddy? Guy?
I'm not your buddy, guy.
Yeah, I bet you're not. Okay. Well, I guess it's my turn, eh?
Wait. I was going to say, in the trailer...
More? You have more?
Yes, I do. And you can't stop me. Or I'll hit you with a Fallout fist. Anyway.
JD, play drop. Just play drop. Silence them. Play them off.
just hit them all. Just go down the list.
Man, I'm living. But I gotta say, Sora's design in this trailer looks really weird. Like he's supposed to resemble a Final Fantasy 15 character. Which is a bit of a far cry from his original design.
Does he have a sick leather jacket?
No, it's more like his hair. It actually looks more like a real-life Japanese pop star.
You need a sick leather jacket in the desert with it open, flowing in the wind, showing off your abs. That's the only way to go. I gotta beat that game, by the way. I got like 75% of the way through, and then I just put it down.
I still haven't even started.
Oh, man. That's a game I'll have to add it to the list. Whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, the trailer said it's only test footage, and the game seems to be doing closed beta in August. So maybe it'll change. All the same, though, I'm happy to know it's in development, so I look forward to seeing more reveals and trailers over the next couple of years.
Yeah, remind me, how long was Kingdom Hearts 3 in development for?
Yeah, but that didn't get like an announcement trailer until way longer after Kingdom Hearts 2.
Mm-hmm. Sure, all right.
But this is like within 2 years.
If you say so.
Hey, this is Square Enix, not Valve.
Well,
duh, because they already made it past 3.
So true, so
it's never
true.
Gonna happen. Ever.
Want to bet?
My turn?
Yes.
Hey, all
That's
right.
all I've got.
So I beat Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. I have saved the universe yet again. Multi-dimensional saving the universe. Quite awesome. It opens it up for a sequel at the very end, which was pretty neat. I'm very happy to see that. I really like the introduction of Rivet, the second character. She bounces off because of her situation and how the other robot, they have their kind of parallel dimension similarity to Ratchet and Clank. They could really make a whole spin-off series of just those two, and I'd be into it. I really think they nailed these two characters quite well. The game did a good job in switching between the two characters and intertwining their stories and meeting up. Very good stuff. It felt pretty damn short, that's for sure. And I've noticed that over quite a few of the Ratchet and Clank games. Kind of Deadlocked comes to mind. This one, even there was a third Ratchet and Clank on the PS. Was it the 3 or 4? There was another one that seemed really short. Nexus. That one was super short too. Because I really, like, even though it only took like 12 hours to beat, and I pretty much did everything in that. I got a bunch of the collectibles. The game is set up in a way where it wants you to go to the other planets, and then when you revisit them is when it wants you to collect everything. I was kind of doing the collect as I was already there, which, funny enough, later in the game, I get an item that reveals locations of where those collectible items are. And when I got that, it was simply just, oh, so that's where it was. And I just go there and get it. And I, like, for example, to get the Rhino, which is the kill-it-all gun, very disappointed in it compared to years past. It does not do a lot of damage, does not nerf enemies like you want it to. Because I was really hoping to go into the final boss where I could just nerf him and just go, yes, kicked his ass, saved the universe in 2 seconds. That did not happen. Very weak, so that was disappointing. But by the time I got that item, I was like, oh, I just need 5 more. And it took like 20 minutes to collect all those items. And I got most of the gold bolts. I would say I got 2/3 of them, maybe 3/4. Whatever percentage would be on the higher end for what I got. But yeah, final boss I was pretty disappointed in. He was super easy, and that was even with the disappointed Rhino gun, because you only get like 5 pieces of ammo, and it didn't do much damage. So very happy, very satisfied with the game. I'm still mad at Gran Turismo 7, even though it's a good game. They are working on fixing the economy. I don't see that happening anytime soon. They're saying eventually you're going to be able to sell cars. Don't see that happening anytime soon. They were so nice, guys, to give the players 1 million credits as a we're sorry, eh? We're so sorry we tried to take advantage of you. And so I'm like, oh, so now I got 2,300,000 whatever 100,000, and I was like, oh, I'll go to one of those legend cars because that just opened up. I unlocked that in the game, and I look at all the legend cars, and they're all like 3 million plus. I'm like, you assholes!
Inflation.
Right.
It's like you made this where I have to. There's no conceivable way for me to grind at any sort of reasonable pace to get 1 million credits. I have been playing this game for X amount of hours, and just going through the game and going through the cafe mode to do their little tasks and unlock their cars. In order to continue to compete in the races that follow it through those tasks, I have to soup up the specific cars that I want, suit this up. It's at best, I've had 500,000, like at any given time. That's the most I've had. Because all the parts cost credits. And this is just like not buying car. I've bought maybe 1 car in the entire game, and that's because it pretty much made me. And that was some like Toyota Tundra for a truck race. I was like, well, I haven't won a truck yet, so I have to go buy that for 100,000 or whatever it was. Great, that's gone. And that's how the whole economy is made, where you just there's just no conceivable way to grind. It's making me play at its pace, which a couple weeks ago I was kind of okay with it. I'm past that now. I kind of want to go at my pace now. And because I keep saying this, the game is like excellent. Driving's great, the controls are great, everything is super, super well made. And then you just get into the guts of the game, and it's just, nope, this is how you're going to play it, or give us money. It's like, I already gave you fucking $70, and I got the deluxe edition with my PS5, and I still feel fucked.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. And now I've started, I thought I was going to do Horizon Forbidden West. I'm holding off on that. What I'm doing is, because I have Hitman 3 and Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I got to beat those 2 games before I get to the more recent ones. And you know what? I'm in an Assassin's Creed mood. So I put up Valhalla, and look, I'm Vikings. I'm going through England. It took a long time for that game to get going. Like it was a lot of story that started off in introducing you to this new Viking character, Avar. And it showed his like childhood. Then it hinted that streams are crossing, and that's how you can pick between a male and female character. And it's like, okay, whatever. Okay, that's kind of neat. So you go through his childhood, which is pretty quick and easy, and then it fast forwards to him as an adult in his 20s, and you finally. He's essentially like the whole tutorial section is him defeating the Viking that kind of killed his dad, And then it finishes off that story with him and his buddy, who's the son of that king, deciding we're not gonna stick around in Norway. We want to start our own, kingdom in life. We're going to England, and I pretty much just got started in the England section where it's telling me to raid and pillage villages, which is pretty cool. And that's kind of how I level up our own Viking area. So that's kind of cool. And I've been tasked with trying to go to meet up with Ragnar Lothbrok. If that sounds familiar from the HBO show Vikings, or is that Showtime?
That.
One of the two.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I've seen like the first 3 seasons of that show. It's really cool. So he's a famous Viking, so we're thrown in there. Or meet up with the Danes, which is also kind of part of that show. So because I've seen that show, I was like, oh, I know that guy. I'm gonna go meet him. Yay! That kind of situation. It's kind of janky in parts. I've noticed that. I'll like hop into my longship and I'll say take control, and the boat will fly like 10 feet in the air and then hit the water. I'm like, okay. It's actually kind of funny in those parts. It's like just jank enough where it's funny for a split second, and then you kind of move on. Like, okay, makes me laugh. So I'm into it. I'm into Valhalla. It has a lot of references to. It's funny when the game references its own lore. It's really funny to me how they ignore the bad games. So it's like here's all these audio clips from Desmond from the first few games. And he references 1, 2, 3, 4, ignores it just seemingly skips Unity and whatever the game one was in England. What was that?
Rogue? Was it Rogue?
No. It was Syndicate.
Yeah, Syndicate.
Yeah, it like totally skips that time period where the games were pretty bad, and then it goes straight to Origins and the last one, Odyssey. It's just Desmond, skip, her. I was like, okay.
Sounds like Resident Evil.
Yeah, it's just the lore only counts if the game was good. Don't worry about it. Which I think is actually pretty ingenious, because then what they're doing is they can kind of I don't want to use the word retcon, but they kind of do, where it's like, okay, we know most of our players only played these games. So to keep them in the loop, we'll keep referencing those games, and hopefully maybe new players can go back. It's like, oh, I don't know what they're referencing, but I'll look it up. And it's like, oh, this guy was in the first 4, and kind of situation. So I'm probably like 4 hours into Valhalla already. 3 or 4 hours. It's a pretty slow moving game. I wonder how long it is. Let me see. Let me go to howlongtobeat.com. Good site. Valhalla. So, it's a 60-hour game. Holy shit, I'll be here a while.
God damn.
Yeah. So maybe I am closer to 4 and 5 hours into it, and I feel like I just start. Like, it took 2 hours, 2.5, just for the title screen to come up as it goes through. Yeah.
Boy.
Yeah, I'm looking at the DLC right now, and that's like 12 hours. So that's another game in itself. Called Ragnarok. Got mixed reviews. Okay. That's where I stand. And then, played the 2 games for the podcast. Which I beat, by the way. Beat them both. How about that? Proud of me?
Ooh.
I beat one of them years ago.
Well, we'll count it. I'll count it. All right. Does that do it? We moving on?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Playing the drop. God damn, I love that Shatterhand music.
Mm-hmm.
God.
Nice.
Okay, here's a question. And it's kind of related to the podcast, but both these games didn't really feel the music in either of them. It definitely was not a focus.
Was there music?
Yeah,
In Far Cry? No.
Resistance did though.
Yeah,
There were a couple
it was
of
pretty generic though.
Yeah,
there
I
were a
guess
couple
that
of
sounded
tracks
out.
there were a couple of tracks I kind of liked. Like there were a couple of boss themes, but the rest I just didn't remember at all.
Yeah. Yeah, because whenever I play some of these old drops like Contra and Shatterhand, even like Ratchet and Clank, with how the music was, very memorable, very addicting, get your blood pumping. I think Resistance lacked a little bit of that sort of music to take it over. But however, it is overwhelming odds. They're both first person view shooters. Which I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Usually not my kind of game, as I mentioned in the last cast. I'm not a first-person kind of guy, but if the game's good enough and addicting, I'll play them. And I'll say this. I really enjoyed both these games. How'd you guys feel?
I enjoyed one of them. The other I found really frustrating.
Oh, well. I thought both games got pretty difficult at times.
Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't get to play one of them, but it seemed very samey to me. So one of them I'm going to go back and try to beat.
Okay. Well, let's get into it. The first game is the original Far Cry, which was developed by Crytek, published by Ubisoft. Came out...
A Canadian company.
Yeah. Came out in the spring, end of March 2004. And I played this on Steam, personally, guys. It did come out later on the PS3 and Xbox 360. That wasn't until 2014.
I played the GOG version.
Yeah. Joey?
I played the Steam version.
Okay. And you guys buy it recently, or have you had the game in your library for like a decade like I have?
I bought it for the podcast.
How much did it go for?
$10.
Yeah.
Okay. I remember some Steam winter sale, and you could get like 1 through 3 and Blood Dragon or something for like $5. I wanted to play Far Cry 3 at the time, and that's how I got this in my library.
I might get the other ones when they go on sale.
Yeah, I'm very curious about Far Cry 2 after playing this, because here we go. I love this game.
I did too. I'm surprised I've never played a Far Cry, because this was really fun.
You've never played a Far Cry prior?
I mean, I know the franchise. I just know that usually they're pretty graphic heavy, and I just haven't really found a want or need to play it. But after playing this, I kind of now want to play them.
Yeah, I've played. I want to say I've played at least halfway through 3. I've definitely beaten 4. And I did not like 5. I was not a fan of Far Cry 5, and I just haven't even attempted 6, which is, I think, it's like a Cuban island or something. Maybe I'll get into that. I've heard good things, but I was definitely not a fan of 5. But 3 and 4 were excellent games. I really liked those. And going back and going to this is what I always like. I always like going back to a game's roots and seeing kind of how it all started, what the path to their game loop was. You know, it's kind of like going through the first Ratchet and Clank game and seeing like how primitive it was through all the controls and health things, and then when over the course of the sequel and even the third and fourth game of the series, they kind of locked in that formula to see what works best for the game. And I feel like this original Far Cry, you definitely see a lot of the early Ubisoft formulas kind of being played out in real time with how this game worked. Colin, I know you've played a lot of Ubisoft games yourself. How did you feel playing this, or at least watching YouTube videos?
Well, up to now, the only Far Cry game I've played is 3. And I enjoyed that one. I mean, I was definitely curious to see how the two compare, much like you. Especially in terms of how much of a Jiminy cockthroat, as Yahtzee puts it. How much of it is compared to the 3.
I feel like a lot of people started at Far Cry 3.
Yeah. But Yeah, it was definitely more linear than I expected. I didn't, because 3 is like very open world,
Yeah.
so it was definitely quite a bit of a shock. But I know you guys say you really enjoyed it. I didn't really. I mean, don't even bother trying to stealth this game. A fly could fart and these guys would hear it. It's even worse.
Yeah, I got detected through walls a lot
Yes, sir.
when I
It's
was
even worse.
crouching. I was like, how are you seeing me? How are you shooting me?
Yeah. It's even worse than Uncharted 3.
Yeah, kind of. It's definitely one of those, once one enemy can spot you across the map, they all do.
Yeah, exactly.
I use that to my advantage sometimes when I'm in the jungle. I would shoot one, go and hide and wait for the others to show up and shoot them and slowly just take them all out.
Yeah, so the game loop I found that worked the best was whenever you're going to the next area, like, so it's an open-ended environment, which means it's open enough where it feels open world, but like you said, it is linear because it takes you down direct paths, but the how the map is laid out, it's very wide. So you can definitely branch off into different paths to get to that ending area that you need to go to, which I thought was interesting. So, for example, when you go down one of your routes to get to, say, a compound area, and the trick I found that worked the best was I'd be at like the top of the hill or across the area, and I'd use these binoculars that they got in the game, and the binoculars will find various enemies across the map, and then that's when you can take them out with whatever gun that you have. I thought the gun variety was definitely lacking. It was very much just straight military type weapons. There was one that anything with a scope was to your advantage. That way you could pick them off across the map, and hopefully that's how you take them out. That's the best way I found. And the game does, I thought, a very good job of switching between this open, wide area into closed quarters inside whatever next compound you're going to. So that way it encouraged you to use the long range guns outside compounds. So when you're going through jungles and whatnot, hiding behind rocks, to shotguns and very heavy weapons when you're in close quarters.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, the binoculars was crucial to getting through this game. I used the binoculars constantly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one thing I noticed, at least in the difficulty I was playing, the enemies go down really easily, but at the same time, you die really quickly without body armor.
Yeah, you do as well, yeah.
There were a lot of sections where I died constantly. I gave up once I got to the pier section. Just could not do that one at all.
Well, here's the thing. The way at least this is my interpretation of how the game was made, was the headshots are very crucial as well. So enemies will drop like a fly in a shot or two, but so will you. You will absolutely get shot. And for tougher enemies, they will headshot you as well if you're not behind proper cover. So maybe that's a little cheap. I definitely felt that in a couple sections through the game, that I was just getting headshot over and over again, and that was super frustrating, because this game is hard. I thought this game was pretty damn hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I turned it down to easy just to progress further so I could see the game.
Oh yeah, once, so there's a huge section on top of a boat early in the game.
Yeah.
And you're on like the helipad area. That section was so overly difficult. That's where I turned it down to easy, and I still had a pretty good difficulty setting throughout the rest of the game, even on easy mode. That was shocking. And
I think it only took me 3 tries to do on top of the boat. The hardest part of the boat for me was when you get on the first platform and there's people above you. So I would go and die, be like, oh, that's where I got shot from. So I would pay attention to that one, and I get shot from another thing. So it took me like 8 tries just to map out where all the enemies were so I could finally get through.
Yeah, when you're coming from underneath on the ladder, and then there's the when there's the storage containers on like two sides.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I died there. Yeah, at least 8 times. Might be a little generous. Yeah, it was always finding out kind of where you got shot from, and that was a recurring thing throughout the game. But luckily, I can only think of 3 sections in total that were as hard as that. Not counting the end game stuff, because okay, so we haven't even talked about like the plot of the game at all, because I thought the plot was, even though it was simple, I thought it was very effective.
Yeah.
Well, I only got past the boat. Like, I just got on the little dinghy to get off the boat. That's as far as I got. So all I know is I'm trying to find some girl, and these guys are trying to kill me.
Dude, Valerie. Oh, I'll get into Valerie. So
You're a one-man army a la Max Payne.
Yes.
That's where the overwhelming odds comes in.
Yeah, the plot is about Jack Carver. He's like a retired militia dude, and him and his boat have been chartered by this reporter journalist chick named Valerie, and very quickly off of, I don't know, you're in like South America, Micronesia, someplace. Basically, these other military dudes take out your boat, and then you wind up on this island. And you find out quickly that the island is run by this CEO of a genetic company called Krieger, and he runs Krieger Corporations. And he's essentially doing evolutionary genetic experiments on like apes. And eventually he's also, you kind of assume a lot of the things that are going to happen plot-wise, like, oh, I bet he's also experimenting on humans, and yeah, that's sure. So they call these evolutionary creatures that come across the island Trigens. And holy shit, these things are wild. And you never got to it, Joey. These are monkeys that can leap across the map and pummel you to the ground in like 2 hits. Do not let them approach you is the goal. They are very terrifying in this game. But you end up learning their patterns because they're pretty easy to spot from across maps, and you can kind of take them out. Like, their heads are bigger, so you can take them out much easier. But then there's a little bit later, there's one they call them like Fat Boys, where they're just jacked up Trigens with missile launchers. Those will fuck you up.
Holy shit.
Yeah. There's an end section where you're on a volcano and there's like tens of them, and you just kind of you have to run past them. Do not take them on. There are sections of this game where it tells you to run away, which I thought was pretty good. It's almost your instinct to fight them all, but you'll never survive because you just die too easily. So what's happening is there's another scientist on the island that's kind of gotten you and this journalist to try to take out the facility, and his name's Doyle. And he's the one kind of going, go here, go there. We need to, our satellite's being cut off. We have to destroy the jammer. And it's like one thing after another. And the one thing I like about Jack Carver is he's pissed off this entire game. He is just a bitter guy who got roped into this thing he wanted nothing to do with. And and Valerie is, of course, like an undercover agent, being a journalist, and she was her contact is Doyle. So she's just like, suck it up, we're going here. And he goes, God damn it, what is this, some lame James Bond movie? I didn't want to be a part of this. I just had my boat, and you were going to take pictures. Fuck you. Yeah, so he's very self-aware of like how shitty his situation is. I think it's the satellite jammer section. He just goes, "Oh fuck, come on! I just want off this island." Does that the whole time, and there's weird sexual tension scenes between him and the journalist, and this really shocked me for 2004. The graphics in this game were good, like really good. the landscape, and just every once in a while it'll show like Valerie. Like there's one where she's washing herself in a waterfall and she's in her bikini, and it's like 4 seconds. I'm like, what was that for?
You know exactly what it was for.
Oh my god! When you first see her, she's coming up through the ocean, like straight up out of that James Bond movie. Putting her hair back, and she's like, "Hey, Jack." It's like, okay. It's like, yes, you're hot. We get it.
Okay, Ursula Andress.
Yeah. So that's mostly the plot of the game, and the end game is you would never guess it. Twist: Doyle was bad. Also, he was also a bad guy.
Oh wow! Who
Yeah,
would've seen
what?
that
Oh my
coming?
god! Yeah, you see it coming. Like you see it coming immediately in the game. Every time this guy makes like one appearance, he's mostly a voice, and then after you defeat Krieger, not a hard boss fight. Like it's really about the journey to get to the boss fight that's tough, and then when you get to the couple final battles, it's really just you shot him a few times and it's over. Not a big deal. So Doyle gets on. He's like, I work for the government. Yeah, get fucked. Yeah. I tricked you. I made you inject yourselves with the serum, the cure for the mutagen for the genetic modification, and so they're like turning into the AP turtle things. So he's like, I'll fucking kill you, and he goes and kills him. He just fucking shoots him in the head. I was like, well, that was cool. All right. I'm into you, Jack Carver. And it's cured, and like the very last scene is showing CDs of what kind of happened on the island, all the research and thing that says Far Cry, the Far Cry project. It's like, there's the game name. Cool.
Title drop.
Yeah, title drop. That's why. Yeah, so I really like this game. I beat it. It took me probably 13 hours, I would say, in total. It was definitely worth it, and it makes me extremely curious about Far Cry 2 now, on what was going, and who knows, maybe I could get to a point where I'm going through. I'm not playing Far Cry 5, didn't like that, but definitely get to like a siphon filter phase that I went through where I played like 2 of the games in a row, back to back to back. After that, Joey, what are your overall thoughts?
I really liked it. I'm going to try to finish it. And if I continue to like it, maybe I'll move on to the second one. I thought it looked great. Even all these years, it still looks pretty good. So I do have
It
issues.
is a PC game made by Crytek.
Well, yeah.
But still, PC games from that era, some of them don't hold up. So,
no, this one holds up. I know. Did you ever come across areas of slowdown? Because I didn't.
No, not yet. But I haven't gotten too far into it. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah,
Besides
I'd be curious.
Being shot from random areas. But
yeah. The AI. Yeah, it gets over. You see this a lot in older games where the AI just it's like early Assassin's Creed. You kill one guy and then they all see you. That's just I think a development of the time. They just hadn't quite figured it out yet, which is fair. I can't critique that too much because all the games at this in this era were going through that, and didn't bother me too much. Because again, you get used to the way the game works. I did notice in later areas, you can actually pick dudes off 1-2 at a time, and they start seeing you less, and they shoot randomly. So they can't. As long as you're covered in the jungle, they don't know exactly where they are. They're just shooting in like a general direction, which I thought was a good touch. They did get to that point eventually. The AI of Valerie in later sections, she gets in your way a lot, and that caused quite a few deaths. She was very aggravating. Just I'd be going through hallways, and she'd like, I have a Trigen in front of me, or a military dude, and I have my shotgun, and she just steps right in front of fire. Then this dude just kills me because I wasn't able to kill him fast enough. I just go, Valerie, you bitch, get out of my way! Fuck. Yeah, it's just, God damn it, Valerie. Those moments. Yeah. Okay. Colin, finishing thoughts or more thoughts?
Well, I see what it was doing. I see how advanced it was. Like I said, I found it really, really frustrating, but for all the stuff it did well, I guess I'll give it a soft pass. I mean, maybe I should just turn down the difficulty myself just so I can get past that one section.
I do recommend turning down the difficulty for it. It is a difficult game. 100%.
For sure.
Yeah. The vehicle sections I thought were pretty cool. It gave you a sense of traversing the terrain. So you had trucks, you had a boat, you had a hang glider for a couple sections. They switched
I
it
like
up.
those sections.
Yeah, they switched it up
You could
well.
actually had you shoot down a helicopter during the first hang gliding section.
Yeah, right. It does suck though if you kind of ruin your vehicle and then you have to go through it by foot because it is pretty easy to do.
The first Jeep part, I destroyed my Jeep, but then I heard a car coming, so I just hid off the road and killed them and stole their car.
Yep, you can do that for sure. It's got some ragdoll physics to them. If you ever hit an enemy with a truck, it's kind of funny. They just go poof, and they fly off like 10 feet, and they float a little bit. It's kind of funny. Okay. If you couldn't tell, high pass for me.
Yeah, I definitely pass it.
Okay. Well, the next game, I'm sure Colin will have a lot more to say. It is Resistance: Fall of Man.
Hell yeah.
A PlayStation 3 launch title, November 2006. Insomniac Games, published by Sony Computer Entertainment, is the first in a trilogy. And yes, it definitely opens it up at the end for a Resistance 2 with how it ends. Colin, how about you? You start us off with what the game's about and your overall thoughts. I'm sure you have a lot to say.
Okay. So, game is basically about, it's sort of World War II era. You got basically this virus that nobody knows where it came from. It suddenly breaks out in Russia. It starts turning humans into these monsters called chimeras. And they very quickly overrun Russia and most of Europe. And next up comes England, which is where most of the game takes place, I believe. And they've somehow developed this really advanced alien technology along the way. And the other thing is that they have supercharged metabolisms, which makes their body temperatures really, really high. So they have to wear these cooling packs on their backs, which makes them easy to identify apart from the human soldiers.
You can actually shoot those packs too. And
yeah,
that'll kill them a little bit faster, actually, and make them explode as well a little bit. Thought that was cool.
Yeah, and you play as Sergeant Nathan Hale, who somehow has an immunity to the virus to a certain extent. Like, he gains some of the abilities of the chimeras, like rapid healing. And throughout
the game, you see like bullet holes in his clothes and cutscenes, and people are like, "That's interesting. How come I got shot a million times and I'm dying, and you're totally fine, Nathan Hale? You suck."
Yeah, a lot of the cutscenes between the levels are like narrated by this one soldier lady who's been interacting with him for a lot of the game, and she actively points out he gained some rapid healing abilities and other such things. She's a little suspicious of him, thinking that he might be turning into a chimera himself. He might even be controlled by one of the big hive mind queens. But we, the player, know better. And along the game, you're just kicking chimera ass, picking up all these cool-ass weapons.
It's
And-
very much an Insomniac game.
yeah, I was gonna get to that. It's just how much creative selection of weapons you have. I mean, for instance, the first like basic machine gun you get from the Chimeras is called the Bullseye. It has a feature that lets you tag an enemy with a projectile, and then you fire in any direction, the bullets will home right in on them.
Oh my god, so useful. Holy shit.
Yeah. So you can just fire out of cover and the bullets will hit the enemy. And there's another one that fires bullets that's pass through solid objects to hit enemies.
Those
and it
suck.
has a secondary function that puts up an energy barrier that you can fire through, but the enemy fire can't hit you unless they're using the same weapon. Feels very Ratchet and Clanky because there's so many different weapons.
Absolutely.
With so many different functions.
Yeah, and it's almost like trying to find the right gun for the right situation of those points in the game. Like if you there's a section more to the end where you're going down a train tunnel and you use that barrier and then you can fire your regular weapons and hopefully it's ones that can do widespread damage as opposed to singular. So you can, because there's like 15, 20 guys in sections all firing at you, and it's up to you to try to figure out how you can take them out the quickest so you don't get overwhelmed. Because this game, Colin, was fucking difficult at times. Holy shit.
Yeah, I had a few sections that were, I just died so many times.
Oh my god. If I was to compare this to Gears of War, the cover it was almost like this game was made like Gears of War, but they didn't have the cover aspect to it yet. So there was no way to...
Yeah.
I felt so little ability to protect myself or have cover at these points in the games. And maybe that's on purpose because Nathan Hale has this healing ability that you have 4 pegs of health, and if you only take X amount of damage before like a peg is done, then you gain it back after a few seconds. So that was a key aspect of this game where I didn't feel like I was being overwhelmed 100%, while there was still decent amount of health pickups to gain that peg back that I may have lost during battle.
Yeah, I feel like the developers were trying to make a hybrid of regenerating health and classic medkit health recovery, because regenerating health was really a really big thing in a lot of shooters of the time, like Call of Duty and all that. I actually remember Yahtzee making a joke about that in his Resistance 3 review. Wait, what are these glowing green things? Medkits, you call these? What an intriguing novelty.
Yeah, but it even played into kind of the lore of the game, which I really liked.
Yeah. And one thing that makes this game series stand out from others is like each game has a moment near the beginning of the game that instills a strong sense of hopelessness in the player. Like in this game, it's a bunch of these things called spires, which are like giant missile capsules that are full of like these bugs. They'll launch them into the middle of a squadron of human soldiers, and then the bugs will just like spread out instantly and infect all of them with the Chimera virus, and effectively wipes out the whole squadron immediately. And I remember almost not wanting to continue playing after seeing that for the first time.
Why
and
is
the
that?
Second game, I don't know, you just see that and you think there's no point in getting all the human soldiers together in one place because they'll get immediately wiped out.
Oh, okay.
Of course, then again, I'm back. That was like decades ago. I'm more resilient to that kind of thing now. And the second game had you seeing a whole battalion of enemy battleships in the sky that pretty well outnumber anything the human forces have. So I just like what they do there.
Yeah, the Spire scene was right at the beginning. Kind of clarifies how easily the Chimera can overrun a city if they felt like it, and that's how they were able to kind of take over Europe as quick as they did.
And that's where the overwhelming odds comes in.
Yeah. So what was real good about this game was its story progression. And Joey, you mentioned this looks pretty samey all the time, and it is. It definitely has this sepia kind of color to it throughout the game, and every place is kind of this broken down building-esque area. What keeps it from being samey is everything's separated into chapters, and each chapter begins with you starting in a new place. So you're not going place to place, you're essentially getting transported to a new area where they clearly tried to make each next area traversing different than the previous with a different kind of set task. So it wasn't just go from X to Y and kill all the enemies by going through like a door and through hallways. It was, this area is going to be a rundown street area. The next area you're going to be in close quarters in this huge like hotel type area, and then this area is going to be in an underground train station. And then if that's getting a little samey, they'll try to put in a vehicle section, or they'll put in a boss fight that keeps everything being fresh as much as possible, so you don't notice those limitations throughout. So I thought they nailed that pretty well, which is why it was easy to kind of play in just a couple sittings that I ended up going through.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, some sections let you drive a fucking tank. You have to take out these giant mech things called stalkers.
Oh, God. There's a section with a stalker. So it's this big spider tank that the Chimera have. And it has we'll call it a cooling pack on its back, much like the Chimera itself. And you have to shoot that. And if you don't have rocket launchers to shoot at it, I never figured out how to really trick it into looking behind, because there's a section where you're in a bunker and it keeps circling around you. And if this thing hits you like twice, you're dead. So I'm like, how do I beat this thing? And I just found a cheap little cheesy cover, and I just used up all my ammo just shooting at it, because anytime I got behind it, never could. And it just quickly would turn around. I wouldn't be able to do any damage. And the rockets would just hit it straight on, and there wasn't enough ammo to truly take it out. And of course, there's like a second one later, like right after that. You're like, okay, what do I do now? There were a lot of sections that got pretty frustrating because of the way the game was made for those. And I get it. They are supposed to be these high-end killing machines that they describe as, once one of these things hit, your army is kind of fucked. So why would one guy not struggle as well? So they really tried to stick to the game lore a lot as you go through levels, and that attributed a lot to the game's difficulty.
Yeah, I get that. One complaint I have is that the game doesn't give you a whole lot of opportunity to use like a lot of the other weapons all that often. Like the ammo for the carbine, which is like the starter machine gun, and the bullseye is way more plentiful than any of the rest of the guns.
Yeah, they're standard soldier stuff, so I get it.
Up until near the end of the game, you get a lot more of the other gun abilities. I mean, we have all these really cool guns and yet very little opportunity to actually use them. And why don't we get to carry more than 24 shotgun shells at one time? That frustrated me.
Yeah, there was no like upgrading a gun, which I think the game could have done with. That way you could have more often stuck with kind of your favorite guns. That would have been cool to see added. Do you know if the second or third one does that?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
But I think they make up for it with like variety of weapons, because every single weapon has like a secondary fire of some kind. Like
yeah.
With the bullseye, it's the homing tags. With the auger, it's the energy barrier. And one one even has this. You can like fire out this little auto turret that just fires bullets in every direction in the middle of a room, and these bullets will actually ricochet off of walls. So that was a really cool function. I found that the weapons actually get more creative as the series goes on. I mean, my personal favorite is from Resistance 2 and 3. It's the revolver, which you fire bullets that you can remote detonate. I can't think of another gun in any video game that's more fun to use.
The alien technology, I thought, with how the story was set up to discover things and following Nathan Hale as his... I mean, he's a super soldier. That's what he is in this game. And
yeah,
how you are constantly meeting up with other like English military battalions, and must have done that 3 or 4 times where it has the narrator lady just going, yeah, and Nathan Hale was the only one that survived. Weird, right?
yeah.
Over and over again. I do like eventually they get to the point where he just goes, I'm staying behind that big like super tower thing. I'm just going to try and destroy it. Because he kind of knows what he's going through, and if he doesn't come back, it doesn't matter to him.
Yeah.
And that whole section of him ditching them and going through, it felt big final section area. I thought it nailed it way better than Far Cry. I thought it nailed it better than Gears of War. I felt a better story progression throughout this game. If I'm comparing like controls and graphics and smoothness of play, I thought Gears of War was like bar none the better game in that aspect. But in terms of story and weapon variety, that's where Resistance has the edge. So I definitely feel Gears of War was better, but I definitely enjoyed my time with Resistance a lot. The going through the alien compound and kind of seeing how the soldiers were made, going through your traversing on tubes to go to section to section. Colin, I don't know if you remember that section very well, but anytime any of those pods were there, I thought they were going to explode and people were going to come at me every time.
Yeah.
It had a decent sense of fear in quite a few sections when you weren't in like London or Southampton or wherever English town you were at.
Yeah.
The alien compounds definitely were a little bit more frightening.
Yeah, for sure.
So the atmosphere was point on.
There's even a section where there's like a big room. There's all these like tubes that will come out of the floor one at a time containing these giant lanky aliens that move quick as lightning. And yet you spend a whole few minutes just trying to gun them down before they fucking wipe you out, because like one slash from them will take out a quarter of your health, so you can't regenerate it. So that was a really scary section. Although I noticed that much like Doom, this game encourages more circle strafing and constant movement in combat as opposed to staying in cover all the time. So
yeah, well, it was
that.
definitely not a game made for cover. It was made for strafing, which is an Insomniac, like with Ratchet and Clank. It's all about strafing and avoiding bullet fire. The problem is the bullets that the enemies fire at you are super quick, so you can't avoid them as easy as a Ratchet and Clank game.
Yeah. That's what I liked, the energy barrier that the weapon has.
Yeah, that ended up being pretty crucial. And then the use of rockets and all the different types of grenades, whether it's the spike grenade, I found very, very useful. Eventually, you get the like pyro grenade. It's like a giant napalm.
I love that one.
I just anytime I got to a new section, it's like, all right, throw all the grenades I have, and then I'll shoot guys down. That's kind of my go-to play. There were sections where I had to put it on easy mode. I could not get through them. I was not expecting this game to be as hard as it was. I died quite a lot. There's an end section where There's multiple stalkers. There's 3 burnt out buildings that you're on top of. You have to fire rockets, but there aren't enough rockets to go around. And after the couple stalkers, there's also one of those giant, massive spiders that chuck goo at you that explode.
Oh, yeah. I hate those things.
That section took me so long to beat. That was so difficult because the health was scarce. Anytime they hit you, takes a quarter of your health away. You can't regenerate. That I think that would be the most difficult part in the game, if I'm thinking about it. It's also when you have to destroy the bridge. I think that correlates, right? If I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah,
this was hard. This was hard.
I actually played that section last night. It was hard as shit.
Joey, you were quiet.
Unfortunately, I didn't get to play this one. I didn't get a copy.
Makes sense.
So I can only go off of watching, which is why Gears of War I thought looked way better. Because not only was this samey, this also felt very boxy. Everything was like perfectly squared, at least in the beginning. You go through a building that's all squared walls, and you go rooms that are squared. It just felt very boxy. But
that's fair. Yep.
I mean, it looks fun. I just unfortunately couldn't get my hands on it.
Yeah, the game is cheap. It goes for about $3 to $5. You could probably find it on eBay for like $2 plus shipping. It's not expensive. Like I said, I was at an EB Games and I bought all 3 of them, like easily. I am interested in playing the sequels, much like kind of Gears of War 2 and 3. I guess it'll be a continued comparison. I would say at the end of both games, I was very disappointed with the final boss fight in Gears of War, but I'd say that's definitely the better game, and Metacritic agrees. Metacritic gave Gears of War like a low to mid 90s. Resistance is mid to high 80s, and I think that's totally fair. As for the difference, because the Xbox was already out for a year at this point, and this was a launch title for the PS3, so by that perspective, Resistance was a pretty important game for the launch of the PS3. And I think it nailed it. It sold, like 2 million copies? I'm reading here on Wikipedia, just at the front page, that it was an embattlement with the Church of England for using interior shots of Manchester Cathedral to recreate the building. It was promoting violence within the church. Ooh. That's funny. Yeah. Aliens are coming into our church. We can't have that. Okay. I also pass Resistance. 2 for 2 on my
easy pass
here.
Yeah, I'm going to pass it.
Okay. So 2 games for Far Cry 1 and Resistance 1 Fall of Man. Joey, your tier grades for me. And which one you preferred?
Far Cry gets an A, and I'm going to give Resistance a B. I preferred Far Cry, obviously.
Okay.
But yeah, Resistance got a B since I gave Gears of War an A, and I think this is like a step down. It's not a bad game, but I think Gears is slightly better.
Colin, how about yourself?
I give Far Cry a B and Resistance an A.
Let's see. If I am looking correctly, you gave Gears of War a B, so you preferred Mr. PS3 over here. Okay. All right.
Yes, I did. It's just a style of gameplay that I prefer.
Mm-hmm.
Just more blood pumping action.
I'm giving both games a B personally. I mirror your thoughts on Gears of War versus Resistance. I think Resistance was just a step down from Gears of War. And Far Cry, I thought was pretty overly difficult. Very advanced for its time, but it's not so much I had an issue with the linearity, but it was overly difficult than it needed to be. The vehicle sections were definitely pretty janky, and the general progression I thought suffered a little bit. So both games get a B from me. But I would say I prefer, just from, if I'm comparing Far Cry versus Resistance, I prefer Resistance. It's more my style. But coming out of this, me wanting to play the sequel of both games, I think it's a big win, personally.
Cool.
And I think that actually makes both games get a B because of me. Because you two were flip-flopped. All right. The next theme is from Colin. What is it?
It is controversial games. Games that caused a big stink in the media for whatever reason at the time, whether it's incredibly violent or in the public's eyes, incredibly sexual. Well, there'll be a lot to talk about there with the two games that I've picked alone, but we can also branch out and talk about other famously controversial games, whether it be Mortal Kombat or Postal or Grand Theft Auto. The list goes on.
All
and
right.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, that's going to be a fun topic, especially the two particular games you chose, Colin. And I guess we'll see you next time. This was episode 111, Redley Retrocast.
I just realized I did not explain what I was doing with the intro to the audience.
That's fine.
Just look up The Champ on YouTube, folks. It's a Canadian comedy radio show. You'll know when you see it.
All right, guys. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye now.